Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett. It's Wednesday, which means it's brand new comic book day, and new comics are hitting the shelves all across the world. You can get them digitally, you can get them physically, you can get them any way you want. It's new comic book day. In my hands is one of the numerous releases from Boom Studios. This is Coda Volume 1. This is a trade paperback for their series. Collects issues 1 through 4. So this is by Simon Spurrier and Matias Bergara. This is actually the Discover Now edition. They're doing this kind of direct market, comic book shop only versions. And if you want this particular, you got to go to the comic book shop. Like, there is no other place you're going to be able to get this. All right. So basically, there is this apocalypse, and magic is kind of wiped out, almost all of it. And then there's this antisocial bard named Hum, and he's seeking a way to save the soul of his wife. And then he's got this mutant unicorn, and he winds up in this like crazy town, and this, it's like, like you hear the stories of like Weird West as a whole genre. This would be like weird fantasy. It is a very strange take on the fantasy genre. And for those who have watched maybe previous videos, listened to our podcast, you might know that I'm like not the biggest fantasy fan. Lord of the Rings I've watched, I enjoyed, I'm not in love with it. Game of Thrones, I've tried watching, not really in love with it. I've tried reading Lord of the Rings books, boring, not my thing. I've tried reading tons of fantasy, it just isn't my thing. Dungeons and Dragons, while I appreciate it, I've played it here and there. I was kind of went towards sort of sci-fi settings. I'm just a sci-fi person in general. So to get me really interested in a fantasy book is a pretty big hurdle and a pretty big deal. I like Coda. Coda is one of the fantasy series that I'm really enjoying. Interesting enough, Boom seems to have a lot of fantasy series that I'm enjoying. Rune World would be another one. So Coda, with the characters, the art, the settings, the situation, it's kind of this weird fantasy, not really steampunk, but kind of that sort of vibe to it, in that it mashes up a whole bunch, I think, different genres or different looks and feels into one world that works really, really well. It's cool. The main character is a complete douche, but there's something endearing about him. There's something really interesting. You kind of want him to succeed at various points. There's other parts you want him to just die mercilessly because he's such a jerk. So I think it's kind of fascinating to try to figure out if you want to root for him or not. So, it's a good read. It's really entertaining. It's fun. There's some solid moments to it. There's some really interesting aspects to all of it. In a lot of ways, it actually kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy a little bit. There's some of the looks and some of the concepts and stuff like that, have this a bit Final Fantasy vibe to it all. Not that they riffed off on it, but just the kind of the look of some of the stuff. There's how Final Fantasy kind of merges its fantasy and it's more Game of Thrones type fantasy depending on the version and all that, but it also mixes in stuff with guns and all that. This kind of has some of that going on too. As I said, it has the steampunk kind of aspect to it all. It's cool. It's really good. If you dig fantasy, go pick this up. I think it's really entertaining. It's cheap. It's $9.99 for the 4 issues, so you're getting a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to that. Price is solid. There's not really a lot of extra. There's really no extras. There's maybe one page that I think is just a cover. The other thing that I think is really intelligent is that this is coming out the same day as the 5th issue. So Coda number 5 is also on the shelves today. So when you go and pick up Volume 1, you can also pick up Coda number 5 and get everything rocking it at once. So you'll be all caught up. It's really smart marketing. It's really smart publishing. And I got to give Boom massive props for that. There's too few publishers seem to do that. As I said, the art's cool. At times it takes me a little bit to figure out what's going on just because of the style. There's a lot to the page. There's tons of detail. The designs are really, really neat. So it all kind of comes together the more you read it. And, it definitely takes a little bit for me to kind of pick up on it all. But I dig the style. The style kind of reminds me of old school Simon Beasley Lobo a little bit in a fantasy setting. So overall, like, I'm really liking it. As I said, I'm not a fantasy reader. This is not generally my genre, but I've enjoyed Coda. So if it can win me over, you'll probably dig it. Like, that's, I think, a pretty good sign. Like, someone who does not like that genre is into it. So you can go get this in comic shops today. Obviously, go support your comic shop. It'll be in bookstores down the road. But go support your comic shop first and foremost. If you do not know where your shop is, we've got a link. You put in your zip code, it'll tell you if your shop's near you. There's no shop. We have affiliate links. We do get a small percentage of that, but by doing that, you support our site. But you really should go support your comic book shop first and foremost. You can only get this version in comic book shops. The other version that will come out will look different. So this is a comic shop exclusive. So yeah, go support your comic shop. They're the backbone of the industry. Without them, things would be totally different. And speaking of support, I want to thank Boom for hooking us up with this. We always appreciate your support and the review copies, and thank you for watching your support as well. If you're into Boom, if you're into graphic novels, trade paperbacks, comics, you can check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. So until next time, keep reading those comics, and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.